Good morning, class. This is a production put together for you today by Stuart, Elvis, and Emmett. Today we will be focusing on moral corruption in F. Scott Fitzgerald's novel The Great Gatsby through the characters Daisy Buchanan, Tom Buchanan, and J. Gatsby. Many characters in this novel are corrupted by the power and money that they have. Fitzgerald demonstrates how a dream can become corrupted by one's focus on acquiring wealth, power, and expensive things. We will also discuss how the corruption of these three characters affects the other characters in the story as well as the plot of the story. It's important that we first look at the setting of where the events occur and the time period. The novel takes place during the 1920s, a time period of great wealth and prosperity. The 1920s are also remembered for all of the illegal bootlegging of alcohol due to prohibition. Many people look to organized crime for an easy way to make money. The location is divided into the East Egg and the West Egg, both of which are home to very wealthy people. Residents in the West Egg have newfound wealth as people in the East Egg have money that has been in the family for a long time, being passed through the generations. The people in the East Egg all seem to be overly proud of the money they have and believe that they are personally better than others because of it. Although people in the West Egg also abuse the money that they have, such as Gatsby, they are new to this wealth and have not really developed the root attitude of those in the East Egg. An easier way of putting it would be to simply state that the people in the East are rich snobs and the people in the West just want to spend it all. The drifting, careless, shallow people who comprise the social group of East Egg and West Egg are representative of the corruption that materialism can bring. We can now take a look at Tom Buchanan, now that we have a better understanding of the atmosphere of the story. Tom lives with Daisy in the East Egg and is a great example of how people of old aristocracy seem to think they are better than everyone around them. Tom is not only arrogant, he is a complete tyrant to everyone else in the novel. When Nick says that Tom will hear of his bonds as long as he stays in the East, Tom reacts by saying, "I'd be a goddamned fool to live anywhere else." Tom firmly believes that people from the East are the best and that if he were to live elsewhere he'd be living amongst peasants. Tom often says things like, "Now just because I'm stronger and more of a man than you," which is just another example that he believes he is above others. Tom's racist and sexist opinions also show his moral corruption through his pride. Pride, being one of the 7 sins, is an obvious form of moral corruption. When someone has too much pride and is as full of themselves as Tom is, they often don't think about consequence. Perhaps the best example of Tom's corruption, though, is the affair he has with Myrtle. It's not the fact that Tom is having an affair, though. It's that he doesn't care about how it affects Daisy and Mr. Wilson. When Myrtle brings up Daisy in their conversation, Tom avoids the topic and tells her not to talk about Daisy. When Myrtle keeps talking, Tom punches her in the face, breaking her nose. This shows that even though Tom knows the affair is wrong, he does it anyways and simply tries not to think about how it may affect his wife. So he believes it's okay for him to do it, but when he finds out Daisy is having an affair with Gatsby, he is outraged. This outrage isn't caused because of his love for his wife, though. Once again it is about Tom's pride. Gatsby makes Tom feel like less of a man by having an affair with his wife. To get back at Gatsby, Tom tells George Wilson that the car that killed his wife belonged to Gatsby. Years after Gatsby is murdered by George, Tom tells Nick this and says that Gatsby deserved it. Tom has an affair, bullies people both verbally and physically, including women, and causes the death of an innocent man, all because of his pride. Tom's pride, which is created from his wealth and luxurious life, is what corrupts him morally. Although it's easy to feel sympathetic for Tom's wife, she is really no better than he is. Daisy is shallow like Tom, believing she is better than other people because of her social class. When she first meets Gatsby, she falls in love with him but wouldn't marry him because he didn't have money. However, When she meets him again and realizes that he has money, she begins having an affair with him. There is no compassion in Daisy, just as there is none in cold, hard cash. Daisy is also careless and avoids critical issues because of her lifestyle. When Daisy is first introduced, she and Jordan are described as two young women were buoyed as though upon an anchored balloon. Fitzgerald uses this description to make it seem as though both Daisy and Jordan are floating above their problems and are living in an imaginary world. A perfect example of Daisy's carelessness is when she kills Myrtle and allows Gatsby to take the blame, resulting in his death. Gatsby's death doesn't even affect Daisy, and after she learns of Gatsby's shady background, she quickly runs back into the arms of her equally self-absorbed, corrupt husband. So Daisy, like her husband, is morally corrupted by money. She only falls in love with people because of their wealth, which leads to an affair and Gatsby's death. She shows no moral concern towards the consequences of her actions. Daisy and Tom are both extremely corrupted characters from the East Egg who believe that as long as they have their money, they can do whatever they please. Nick realizes this at the end of the novel and says they were careless people. They smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness and let other people clean up the mess they had made. Jordan Baker is another person from the East Egg who demonstrates the carelessness and corruption in the East Egg, as she is the one who encourages Daisy to have an affair with Gatsby. She also cheats to win her first golf championship and quite frequently lies. Now we must examine the effect that money has on Gatsby, because he is the story's central character. Gatsby lives in the West Egg, so the environment around him is not like that of the East Egg, but Gatsby clearly wants to become a member of the East Egg so that he can share his wealth with Daisy. It's because of her that he has earned this money in the first place, but he will never be accepted into the world of old money that Daisy can never leave. However, the simple love story was merely the foundation for a narrative structure that would accommodate Fitzgerald's ideas about irreconcilable contradictions within the American dream and ultimately about the ideal quest itself. Gatsby realizes that if he wants Daisy to love him, he'll need money, and like almost every character in the story, he puts his morals aside to gain this money. Gatsby becomes friends with a mobster named Meyer Wolfensheim and starts illegally bootlegging alcohol for him. To earn the love of Daisy, Gatsby has to break the law. Of course, once Daisy realizes that Gatsby is now wealthy, she falls in love with him and Gatsby forms a romance with her. Even though she is a married woman, money is not really the major factor that causes Gatsby to do things that are morally wrong. It is more of a secondary factor. His love for Daisy is the main cause of his corruption. It is his love for Daisy that eventually leads to his death as well, as he puts himself in danger for her carelessness. Gatsby is not necessarily a bad person, but he is blinded by his love for Daisy, which results in him breaking the law and committing adulterous deeds. Nevertheless, Nick recognizes that although Gatsby has become immersed in a world of materialism and corruption, he is still a good man. As we can see, all of the main characters, except for Nick, are oblivious to what is right and what is wrong in society because of either money or love. The desire for money and pleasure heavily outweigh the characters' moral goals. The characters that live in the East Egg are all pompous jerks who believe that they are more important than everyone else, including each other, because of their financial positions. Gatsby tries to often be like the people in the East to earn Daisy's love, which leads to his eventual death. Nick, like all of the main characters in the novel, is a Westerner. He is credible as narrator of the allegory, which he calls a story of the West. After all, he knows about the infinite hope of the frontier spirit, and he also has witnessed the corruption of the American promise of equality for all. Fitzgerald chose Nick to tell this story because he is the only one who seems to not be corrupted by money. Nick is caught up in this entire mess and has to interact with all of these characters, so his point of view is much different from the rest of theirs. After all of the events in the novel take place, Nick realizes just how corrupt and selfish these people are because of their money. Nick decides to move away in the end because he believes that the type of lifestyle those people are living does not suit him. In The Great Gatsby, Nick Carraway tells the story of a group of rich people who are all morally corrupted by their money and need for happiness. These characters' lack of morals are what drive the story forward and eventually lead to the tragic death of the story's main character. We hope you enjoyed the presentation and have learned something about life from this novel. Thank you.